Hi, is this Ben?
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Dale.
How you doing?
Yeah, good. I'm calling from New Zealand.
Yeah. How you doing, man? Sorry about that. I think the other one went over by a couple of minutes.
That's all right. These things happen. Anyway, I guess, are you ready and comfortable for a wee chat?
Yeah. Everything's good, man. Everything's good. You can hear me all right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So how's it going? What are you guys up to at the moment?
Right now we're kind of in a limbo stage in between tours and such like that. We got together for a couple of weeks. We were working on just putting the set list together for Australia and everything, and New Zealand and Europe. We're going to be doing after that. And we got to a point where we're just like, okay, we got this set list, everything's sorted. And so we started kind of throwing ideas around for some new material. So we kind of got a little ahead of ourselves and started working on some new stuff for the next record and stuff like that. So, I mean, we're still early into this, too. I mean, Constricting Rage hasn't even been out like 8 months at this point, so it's still pretty fresh. But, I mean, we had some spare time and everything was going really well, so we kind of got the skeleton structure for like 2 new songs.
Shit, that's got to be good, though. It shows that the fucking drive and the energy is still there for new shit.
Yeah. No, it's really good. I mean, we're usually on the road a lot, and we don't write much when we're on the road a lot. We'll tour, we'll come home for a couple of weeks, we kind of get away from each other, then we get back in the room, we head back out on the road, and we just don't focus on writing as much. But we've kind of been pickier about touring in the U.S. lately and wanted to focus more on getting out of the U.S., hitting Europe more, luckily this thing for Australia and New Zealand as well, getting out and hitting these places a lot more rather than always doing tour after tour in the U.S. and never really getting out of there. So being with that, too, it gives us a couple more months open, so I think that allows us to kind of be like, get away from each other, decompress, and then be like, all right, well, hell, we got to get back in the room and jam some shit. And then we're like, oh, well, we got some time, let's throw around some ideas. So, we kind of take advantage of that at this point.
Cool. Now you're coming to New Zealand, that's why we're calling, Auckland and Wellington on the 22nd and 24th of March. Basically the third time in 5 years that you're coming down. So you guys are definitely showing us Kiwis and Aussies some love, right? Yeah,
definitely. I think it's incredible, man. We have a lot of, other bands that we've toured with in the States and stuff that, they go to Europe and things like that, and, they haven't even been to Australia. And this is like our third, or New Zealand, and they haven't even been ever, and this is like our third time to both, which is awesome. I'm glad we've kind of created a niche out there where we can come back, every year, every couple of years, and come and play. We were luckily graced with the opportunity the first time we came out there with Behemoth and Job for a Cowboy. And then again, like a couple of years later, it was us and Impiety. So, everything, just falls into place and it keeps going. And now we have this third opportunity to do it. So we're like, get it, go.
That should be good.
I'm hoping, depending on how things happen, I'm hoping that maybe, the distances in between can maybe shorten, depending on, what goes on and everything like that. I know sometimes it's difficult to get bands, out over that way. And that's what I'm saying. So I guess it's a unique opportunity that we are able to do this now for a third time.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, you're actually coming to New Zealand is probably more to do with getting offers and sort of the fan support in our sort of local New Zealand market, isn't it?
Well, I'm sure that too. I'm sure that assists, but being a band too that, like comparing us to somebody like Behemoth, we're definitely on a lower tier than Behemoth is. And, the opportunity we got to come do that tour and then also, then come back later and still be able to come back as well again. That's just, it's one of those things you don't really, you can't control, It's like going to Japan as well. It's like one of these offerings where, there's got to be interest for you there, and you definitely have to go there. And luckily enough, the Behemoth thing kind of opened the gateway for us when we came over there, and it just allowed us to do more and more. I mean, that time it was just Auckland, and then when we came back the second time, it was Wellington, Auckland, and then the same thing this time as well. You know, I mean, we've never been down to Christchurch yet, which would be unique, or, you know, somewhere like that. But, you know, it doesn't matter. The opportunity to still do both of them is incredible, you know, that everything just falls into place like that. I mean, I'm sure it's a difficult process, too, to be able to get bands out there as well, like outside of that area, to get them into the area, you know, financially, feasibly, things like that. You know, everything's pretty expensive all around for that kind of situation.
Yeah, it's definitely the case for a lot of things. A lot of things have to align before a band visits New Zealand. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, dude, there's also a lot of, like, you know, visa paperwork, things like that go on. So, I mean, it's a whole process that needs to happen. It's not like you can just roll in. Like, usually if we go to Europe, you know, it's fine and we get in. The only paperwork we really have to do is if we were to fly into England, per se, or the UK. And we, you know, it's usually that, but you fly into Europe, usually you just, like, roll right in. Like, you're flying to Germany, and you're just like, yep, you're here, and you head to the van, and then you're touring in Europe. Where, you know, in Australia and New Zealand and, like, England as well, you have to file for, like, different visas and things like that to be able to get into the country, which is unique. You know, it's definitely something that's put together ahead of time and everything. It's not like this, like, last-minute thing you can just throw all together.
Yeah. But is that kind of why you're staying a bit longer in Australia? Because you're doing, I guess, for an international band, probably not unheard of in Australia, I'm not too sure, but I'm just noticing doing quite a few dates over there. Is that to really get a stranglehold on on the market, to get your fans out, but also make it worthwhile, the whole, you know, the very long trip down?
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I mean, we had an opportunity, like, Dave from Psychroptic, we met him when we had done the Behemoth tour, and, you know, he's the one that kind of put it together for us to come over there with Impiety. And then he got in touch with us about coming over and doing this tour with them in Australia and playing, like, a lot of different little towns that a lot of bands really don't play unless you're from the area, you know? Or, I mean, I have to say, I'm pretty sure that there's not many extreme metal bands that have come over there and have played like that, from Australia or New Zealand, that have played some of those places. So it was a great opportunity to kind of go into that situation and play all these different little markets and everything. I mean, because we do that kind of stuff in the States on our own. We, like, even touring in the U.S., you have all these major cities, but in between you have, like, little smaller kind of cities. What do they call them? Like second, third markets, stuff like that. And they usually don't get a lot of the tours, but when we'll go off on our own and do shows, or we're on a bigger tour and we have days off, we'll play all these smaller markets in the U.S. So it falls like that too. So in a way, we're kind of used to doing something like that, but this is definitely a whole different element doing it this way, especially, you know, overseas over there.
That's for sure. Now, just about your latest album. I noticed I guess you've said in the past that you recorded it on analog, on, was it 2-inch tape or something? Choosing it that way and sort of doing that sort of obviously a bit harder way of doing it, was that kind of like an homage to a lot of the old school records that I guess those of us of a certain age would have listened to, as much as I guess proving your musicianship or something else?
It's a little bit, I think it's a little bit of everything, you know. I mean, Sammy and I are a little older, so in the past when we've recorded things in other bands we've been involved with, we had the opportunity to do tape, you know, so we were kind of familiar with it. It just had been so long since we ever done it. And luckily enough, Eric Rutan has a machine. The thing that's unique is the machine that Eric Rutan has in his studio is one of two machines that come from More Sound Studios that they use to record, like, all the classic, you know, death metal records like Obituary, Suffocation, Morbid Angel, you know, all those bands that came to More Sound and worked with Scott Burns and everything. So those things, that you know, that's a nostalgic aspect to it. But overall, we just want to, there's a tone you can get on tape that it doesn't seem that has been replicated through, you know, the idea of digital recording through like Pro Tools and stuff like that. So it's funny because you can record it all, but then they drop it all into Pro Tools after you record it from tape. But it still captures this warm tone on the tape that you don't get anywhere else. And we're really interested in, you know, sorting that out and doing it. And it is a little more time consuming and I guess a little bit difficult if you're not familiar with it as much. But, you know, luckily enough, Eric had used it before because he had bought the machine from More Sound and he had used it back a ways for a couple of bands. And, you know, we just kind of basically dusted it off and we had the biggest problem was finding tape. Because tape is really hard to find now and there's like a company that makes it, but the formula for it isn't the same as the original one. So we found old reels and then you're kind of crossing your fingers, making sure, hoping the old reels worked well. And, you know, you have to use about 4 of them and they're pretty costly. But overall, it was just the experience and everything to do it and get the tones from it. So, you know, we wanted everything more natural sounding, more full, warm sounding, where, you know, not everybody will really notice it, you know, because a lot of people just listen to music and whatever, and it moves on. But as an artist or a musician and the way you hear it and everything, you start to hear that. You start to hear this digital layout and how things come out when you record straight into Pro Tools or whatever kind of recording digital program that somebody uses. And so we went after it and did it that way, and it worked out really well. And I mean, we're really interested in doing it again for the next record. You know, fingers crossed, depending on tape and stuff like that. But it was just an awesome experience to be able to do it.
There you go. That kind of answers. I was just going to ask next, because I was always wondering if the album as a whole, the sound of it, and I guess the sort of atmosphere sort of encapsulates whether that sort of final offering that the person takes home and listens to, is that if it came out as you envisioned with this tape process?
Oh yeah, definitely so. It was everything we were, you know. It was funny too because Sammy was actually like, he kind of threatened Rutan a little bit. Not like in a real bad way, but he was just like, look, if we don't record the tape, then we're not coming to the studio. So he was like forcing Rutan to get the machine out, get it calibrated, and all that stuff. But definitely the final product of it. I mean, it makes a difference with not only drums, but like the guitars and the bass, you know, and the way the tones kind of come through and the warmth and the roundness of the tones, and how full it makes them sound. And like I said, some people may not notice the difference, you know, but in the end result, it's us, the band that wants to be pleased about it and happy what they did with it, you know, when it's finally coming out and everything like that. So, you know, the end result, we were all really happy with it. You know, Rutan was totally excited the fact that we did it to tape and the way it did come out. He was just like, holy shit, this is fucking amazing that we did this and we pulled this off in this day and age when nobody really does it that much anymore.
Yeah, it's I definitely know a few people and myself are certainly getting a kick out of the album. I think that's all the time I have. That's the 20 minutes I got on the clock here. Thanks so much for talking to me. I look forward to seeing you here in Auckland at the end of March. Yeah.
No problem, man. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. We're pretty fucking excited to be coming back again. You know, we're hoping that this becomes a regular routine every single record, or even 2 times for each record, depending on how things fall. I really, you know, I like the intimate, like smaller venue kind of approach. I'm really not into, you know, like playing huge places and stuff like that. I like it when there's a crowd there and they're in front of you and there's this like, it works together. That's what makes the whole situation happen, how the crowd reacts to it, and you as a band, and how you're putting, you know, laying out the music, you know, whatever you're projecting, and then how the crowd's feeding back from it. I just like the smaller kind of intimate environment within that, especially within extreme metal.
And on top of that, this is going to be is your tour. It's going to be your crowd as well.
Yeah, we'll hope. Well, even there'll be probably new ears and new faces. You know what I'm saying? So that always helps as well. I mean, there's always people that are interested, have heard the name or something, or have not been familiarized with any of our stuff, and they'll come out to the show as well. Just like us when we first came with Behemoth, you know, it was a bunch of new faces, new ears there. And each time, you know, you do play somewhere, maybe some friends are like, hey, this band played, and maybe you need to come check them out this time since they're coming back. So, you know, we're always up for having, you know, more audience that gets into it, more audience that's, you know, growing towards, you know, coming out to the shows and stuff like that. So definitely it'll be a really good experience.
Cool, man. I'll look forward to it. And again, thanks so much for talking to me today.
No problem, man. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, see ya. Cheers. Bye.
Okay. Cheers.